In my life experience and journey, I had the pleasure of meeting a lot of successful people. And I was always very, very curious to know the common denominating factor that propelled their ascent. They all came from very different backgrounds, and some of them have to make it from extremely unfavorable conditions. Yet, they all managed to change their lives. Then I looked at my own journey, the ups and the downs of my career, the constant will to make it, and the hunger for more. And I had to come to terms with the fact that the actual reason for success was something I wouldn't have really welcomed into my life. Success came from the experience of pain. Maybe it was a childish need for more recognition and love from my parents, or a way to make them happier when times got tough. Or maybe it was simply a survival instinct kicking in when money got tight. The actual reason is not that important. What matters is that it propelled my growth, and it made me think quicker, plan more efficiently, and be faster. Before starting to work as a personality at age 18, I used to work at events as a hostess. And my boss would always give me the worst shifts and the worst jobs. For example, I had to distribute flyers at a casino until 3 a.m. in the morning, dressed in a fluffy pig suit. I was obviously not happy with the experience, so I thought, how can I make my boss value me more? And I went and did Miss Switzerland. I became a candidate, and that night, the night of the election, has completely changed my life. Needless to say, I have never worn that pig suit again. Later on, a career advisor at my university told me, never ever even dream about getting a job in finance in London, because what makes you think you are better all this international competition? So I put my CV in order, booked a flight, and went to dozens of interviews until I landed 3 experiences in major financial institutions in the city. I then left to start my own business. And lastly, it was a failed book deal in the US that pushed me to become completely independent and to start my own journey as a digital entrepreneur and an influencer. Successful people, oftentimes, literally work their pain away, subconsciously. And whereas most spiritual gurus would state that the only way to get rid of pain is to completely feel it and stay in it for as long as necessary, I think it's a great motor and way to propel success and growth. Once I told to one of my friends, a good friend of mine who happens to be a neuroscientist, my idea about the link between pain and success, the first thing he did was to scream, "Yes, you're absolutely right," to my pleasure, and then he pointed to some piece of research who he thought would be extremely relevant to the case. We are talking about post-traumatic growth. And yes, for those of you who have never heard about it, the word is growth and not disorder. The scientist Richard Tedeschi, with his team, has determined that growth after a traumatic event or a life crisis is far more common than PTSD, contrary to popular belief. Ancient writings and religions often state that people have to overcome hardships in order to grow. And leading by example, Jesus sacrificed himself, Moses ascended the mountain, and the Buddha left his palace. Leading researchers on post-traumatic growth have determined that people who go through a life crisis oftentimes start to think about what happened in order to make sense of these events. And this positive rumination is what actually propels growth. Before understanding the power of pain, I used to always try to be the big girl, the strong woman. I would smile in front of a problem, try not to feel the pain, and push it completely away. When I was 12 years old, my father started traveling a lot for work. First for months at a time, and then for years. I was always the daddy's girl. I saw him as a hero, and he was my role model. So I would call him, and he would not pick up the phone, or his number would be completely deactivated. And whereas now I know that he had his own problems to solve, at the time, it was more than heartbreaking for me. I felt abandoned. I felt that my dad didn't love me anymore. It was such deep pain that I thought that he didn't want me, he wasn't interested in speaking with me, and I went completely numb. For years, I wouldn't even feel anything. Yet now, looking back, I realized he had never stopped loving me. He just had to solve his own issues. But all of these steps I've taken from that moment onwards to grow, to become a better person, to build a career, were rooted into an initial pain. And I wanted to prove to my father that I was still worthy of his love. So yes, this unpleasant experience have made me grow and become a better version of myself. Now, with more awareness and research, I've learned to embrace pain, to welcome it fully into my life, and to use it to my advantage. And I have carved a recipe for myself and you in 3 simple steps. So, step 1 is acceptance. You need to fully accept this unpleasant feeling or strong pain. Feel it fully, even if you need to cry, feel terrible. But just one thing, don't punish yourself. Give this pain time, but give it also a time limit. You need to hit an emotional threshold. Then, I usually say to myself, I'll give it 1 day, 1 hour, a week. If it's really bad, even a month. But once it's over, it's time for phase 2. Phase 2 is writing. You need to first deconstruct the problem, think about it, ruminate on it, and then you take a piece of paper, because writing by hand is much better for analytical thinking. You divide this piece of paper in 3 sections, and on the left side, you will write what is causing you pain. In the middle, you will write what you learned from this pain. And on the right side, you will write how can you use this pain to progress and move out of it and forward. The right side is the most important one because it's going to be your plan moving forward. Once your plan is ready, it's time for phase 3. And it's to take the leap. You gotta take action, follow that plan, and no hesitation is allowed. Are you going through a divorce? Are you going through a problem, battling a health issue? You're struggling to pay your bills, or you're having problems with your family, or confidence issues? Well, I have some news. This is amazing. This is great. Use it to your own advantage to start something completely new in your life. Sometimes we found ourselves cornered and we cannot find a conventional way to get out. And out of necessity and survival, we might make up a completely new, innovative way to get out. And this is how novelty and progress is born. Life should not be about passively supporting and feeling pain. Life should be about thriving. Use pain as a powerful fuel to go to the next level. Thank you.